In a quiet forest, only the sound of footsteps breaks the silence hanging in the air. A firm stomp on the ground is followed by a shout, questioning where they are all heading. Just then, a herd of wild boars scurries up a hill with a group of goblins in hot pursuit. Out of nowhere, a rope snags one of the animal's legs, springing a trap. In an instant, a large net drops from the sky, landing right on top of the shocked wild pigs. Working perfectly, the trap leaves the boars caught and dangling from a tree. Seeing that their plan succeeded, the group of goblins celebrates the successful hunt. One of the friends praises Nog for the brilliant idea he had to capture the animals. Nog puffs up with pride and says he's an inventor, so creating these things is what he does. But one of his friends starts laughing at him, pointing out that half of his inventions don't even work. The white-haired boy defends himself, saying that at least he's innovating through trial and error. His companions agree that even with the failures, Nog is the only one creating new things, and that's amazing. The young inventor is overjoyed and thanks his friends for the support they always give him. However, from a distance, a bright blue eye was watching the goblins' every move in the forest. Hidden among the bushes, a mysterious hooded archer prepares to attack the group. He aims his glowing arrow and says he just needs to cut the rope to get dinner. The archer immediately fires his energy arrow, which zips through the air at incredible speed. Nog senses the imminent danger and shouts for everyone to watch out for the surprise attack. Without a second thought, he shoves his friend out of the arrow's path to protect her from harm. The shot hits the net's rope, and the blast of energy ends up striking the other goblins. Nog is in shock, faced with the harsh reality of being a goblin in this tough world. He then grabs his friend's hand and pulls her away to flee as the adventurers appear. His companions who were hit by the arrow are now running for their lives from the hunters. The pink-haired girl worries about the others, but Nog says there's no way to save them. With a determined look, the young inventor grits his teeth, thinking of a quick solution. He suddenly stops and holds onto his companion, who doesn't understand his action. Nog tells her he can't save the others, but he can make sure the two of them get out of there alive. He quickly tries to use one of his inventions on his arm, but it begins to malfunction. The wooden contraption breaks and opens up like a flower, leaving the goblin shocked. His friend yells that now is not the time for testing inventions, and he complains that it took him 3 weeks to build that. One of the adventurers finds the two and alerts his friends that he found more goblins for the quest. The group decides to go after them, and the girl panics, afraid they'll take her ears. Completely terrified, the two goblins run as fast as they can to escape their terrible fate. While running, Nog spots a giant purple mushroom in their path and seems to recognize it. The young inventor gets a brilliant idea upon seeing the mushroom, and a spark appears in his eyes. His friend is confused when Nog shouts that they got lucky and jumps on top of the mushroom. He smiles victoriously as he found a cloud mushroom, a perfect item for the situation. Without wasting any time, he stomps on the mushroom with all his might to activate its effect. The impact causes the mushroom to release a giant cloud of dust that engulfs the adventurers. The hunters are caught off guard by the smoke and start coughing, wondering what just happened. As the mushroom smoke spreads through the forest, it leaves the adventurers completely lost. When the dust settles, one of the hunters realizes the two goblins managed to escape. His friend calls for him to leave, but a device on his wrist begins to glow brightly. The young man named Shugo looks at a holographic screen and complains that he only needed 2 more. The other adventurer is confused and calls him weird, then decides to head home alone. Meanwhile, Nog and his friends safely arrive at the gate of their village, and she vents her relief. The inventor says she always says that, but the girl replies that it was a very close call. We are then introduced to Rikioros, the village of the southern goblins, built on giant mushrooms. Nog wonders why adventurers hunt his kind since all they seem to do is take their ears. A group of elders gets annoyed by the question and wonders about the reason for the attacks. Without warning, the young goblin gets a slap from his friend, who doesn't understand his reaction. With a focused gaze, he notices something strange happening in the center of the village. The white-haired boy sees a crowd gathered and wonders what all the commotion is about. The two friends then make their way through the sea of people to see what's going on. On the stage, an elder is giving a speech about the adventure attacks, which are getting worse. A muscular goblin approaches the girl and mourns the loss of her brother, leaving her shocked. He then reveals that Kraz didn't survive the attack that happened earlier that same day. She gets confused and says he passed last week, but then mixes up the names. Nog comments that with 300 brothers, it's impossible to remember who's still around and who's gone. The leader shouts that they need a strategy to fight back, and the inventor becomes curious. The elder announces the strategy to send more goblins to overwhelm the enemies with numbers. But Nog disagrees with this plan and yells for the leader to wait a moment before deciding. The village chief turns with a look of contempt and questions what the young inventor wants. The white-haired boy argues that this will only increase the number of losses in the tribe. In response, the elder challenges him to come up with a better solution and scoffs at his failed inventions. With a serious look, Nog accepts the challenge to present a more effective plan. He explains that in the short term, they need to change their hunting methods to avoid adventurers. And for the long term, the young man says they need to find out the reason they are being hunted. The other goblins are completely shocked and confused by the boy's crazy idea. The tribe leader just clicks his tongue as a sign of total disapproval of the plan. Next, the old goblin starts laughing loudly, saying it was the most ridiculous idea he's ever heard. Nog's friend also finds it strange for goblins to try to understand human adventurers. The white-haired boy gets annoyed and says it doesn't matter what they think about it. The elder asserts that brute force is the only way to deal with these barbarians. The leader finishes by saying that in this world, the only thing that truly matters is power. Later that day, Nog returns to his home and angrily kicks one of his broken inventions. He complains that the elder calls him a fool, yet wants to send more of their people to a certain end. His friend watches him from the doorway, looking concerned about the inventor's emotional state. The young man then turns to her and says it's time to act, but she doesn't understand. He then reveals a large wooden chest with a shiny, golden lock. With a determined look, Nog opens the wooden chest he kept in his house. As soon as the lid opens, an intense golden light shines from within the mysterious object. With a smile on his face, he reveals his plan to capture an adventurer for questioning. He adds that this way they'll find out why humans dislike goblins so much. The following day, the goblin village seemed as peaceful as ever, with everyone going about their routines. Through the main gate, a large group of hunters sets out for another dangerous expedition. All the while, at Nog's house, the sounds of hammering echoed throughout the neighborhood. The young inventor worked hard on his new project, thinking about how everyone considered him a fool. He takes out all his frustration on the metal, as he can no longer stand being underestimated. After much effort and sweat, the boy finally seems to have finished his latest creation. He drops his hammer on the table and prepares to show the result of his hard work. The goblin then reveals a type of wooden cup that he built with great dedication. With everything ready, he asks his friend Goblin if she is prepared for their mission. The girl replies with a confident "Kais," showing she's ready for whatever comes their way. The two leave the village, and Nog says this is the perfect chance to capture someone. The narrator explains that in this world, there are many creatures, and goblins are one of them. Despite their large numbers, they are known for being one of the weakest races in the forest. However, what they lack in individual strength, they make up for with an absurd number of members. But all the creatures in this forest have one major problem in common that threatens them all. This great threat is the humans who, with their weapons and armor, hunt everyone without mercy. For as long as he can remember, humans have invaded the forest and relentlessly attacked his people. They attack everything in their path and seem to have a special dislike for goblins. These hunters who pursue them call themselves adventurers, and they are quite powerful. Nog wonders if this endless cycle of conflict will ever finally come to an end. Will they just keep taking each other out for no apparent reason, forever and ever? The ice statue is sliced in half by a fire attack that completely destroys it. This meaningless battle seems like it will never end, which leaves him deep in thought. Suddenly, the image of his friend Goblin pulls him from his deepest thoughts. She calls his name several times until he finally returns to reality and apologizes. The inventor says he was just distracted as he looks down at his tools on the ground. Goblin then asks why they are here, since the fighting is in the center of the forest. Nog explains that going into the heart of the battle is too risky, and they might not make it out alive. The girl gets nervous remembering the danger and agrees she doesn't want to go through that again. He says the strongest ones fight in the center, while the weaker ones stay on the perimeter, hunting monsters. With his plan in mind, he fits one of the fangs he collected into his metal gauntlet. The perimeter is the perfect place to find weaker adventurers who are easier to capture. His friend praises him for the well-thought-out plan, and the two enter a dark cave. With a smile on his face, the inventor says that now they need to set up 3 traps. The first is a net launcher, the same one he used to catch the wild boars earlier. The second is a pitfall trap with sharp stakes at the bottom to catch the unwary. And finally, he shows a giant slingshot that uses a pink jewel as bait to lure the target. Goblin gets super excited, her eyes sparkling, and says his inventions are really cool. But she complains that the names are awful, which makes Nog sad since he spent a lot of time thinking of them. All of a sudden, a young adventurer approaches the area, seeming to have heard something nearby. Hidden in the bushes, the 2 goblins watch as the young man gets closer to the first trap. The boy keeps walking without noticing and ends up stepping right on the rope on the ground. Because of that, the rope tightens around his ankle, making it seem like the plan is going to work. However, the old rope can't handle the pressure and snaps before triggering the trap. The adventurer looks back, confused, while Nog and Goblin are shocked by the failure. The inventor wonders why the trap didn't work as the target calmly walks away. Nog comes out of hiding and stands next to the broken rope, saying he was sure he set it up correctly. Unexpectedly, the trap's net is activated and falls right on top of its own creator. Goblin starts laughing and says that at least his invention actually works as it should. Annoyed under the net, Nog yells at her to be quiet and help him get out of there. Once hidden again, he assures her that the next trap has instant activation and cannot fail. His friend asks if the target just needs to step there, and points to what looks like a rock. But it's actually bait, a shiny purple mineral that is very eye-catching. Nog says it's a super rare and beautiful ore, so the adventurer who returned won't be able to resist it. Goblin watches the young man from a distance and wonders if he's finally noticed the bait on the ground. The young hunter seems mesmerized by the crystal's glow and gets closer for a better look. But to Nog's surprise, the adventurer simply ignores the bait and continues on his way. Goblin can't hold it in and starts laughing at him, saying he really has good taste in rocks. The inventor doesn't understand what went wrong, and his friend says that not even goblins care about that stuff. Then she gets the idea to use a goblin doll made of cloth as new bait. He thinks the idea is bizarre, but she explains that humans love to collect their fabrics. Nog thinks for a moment and realizes that his friend's logic makes perfect sense. With the new bait in place, the adventurer passes by the same path as before. The young man suddenly stops and becomes alert, having heard a noise from the bushes. Hidden, Nog grumbles that a simple piece of cloth won't be able to attract anyone. But the hunter picks up the doll and says it's perfect for completing his daily quest. The inventor is completely shocked while Goblin celebrates the success of the crazy plan. Without wasting any more time, he yells to his friend that it's time to spring the trap. The young adventurer realizes he's fallen into a trap, but it's too late to escape. Goblin cuts the main rope with her axe, activating the final trap's mechanism. Because of this, several ropes shoot out at high speed and wrap around the boy's body. Nog says it's his turn and pulls the rope with all his might to secure the target. The hunter is lifted into the air and begins to spin rapidly, becoming completely immobilized. Nog then seizes the opportunity and hits him with a precise blow that knocks him unconscious. The boy tries to say that they are goblins, but the inventor cuts him off and tightens the rope. Now with the adventurer finally captured, the two will be able to uncover the whole truth. Slowly, the adventurer wakes up and wonders what on earth happened to him. Upon opening his eyes, he sees the two goblins staring at him upside down, looking very confused. Goblin greets him in a friendly manner, while he remains completely clueless about the situation. The young man realizes he is tied up and hanging over a pit of sharp stakes. Nog tries to calm him down, saying that if he cooperates, nothing bad will happen. The young hunter becomes furious for being captured by a race he considers inferior. But the goblin duo warns him that first, they have a few questions to ask. The inventor then begins the interrogation to finally find out what he's been wanting to know. He gets straight to the point and asks why humans dislike his species so much. The white-haired boy says they spend their days hunting them because of their teeth. Goblin corrects him, reminding him that humans also take the fabrics they use. She starts listing everything the adventurers take, beginning with their ears. Next, the pink-haired girl mentions that they also take the goblin's hair. The list continues, and now she says that even their fingers are taken by the humans. And finally, she screams with all her might that their teeth are also taken by them. Nog gets irritated and says he already got it, since he had mentioned the teeth himself. So he asks again why the adventurers won't let them live in peace. The young man scoffs, saying they wouldn't understand, and Nog threatens that it would be pointless to keep him around. Hearing that threat, the young hunter becomes enraged by the little goblin's audacity. The inventor starts swinging the prisoner back and forth to intimidate him. Nog gets annoyed with the lack of cooperation and says the adventurer will have to meet his end. The prisoner, even hanging upside down, scoffs at the little goblin's threat. With a look full of confidence, the young man doesn't seem the least bit intimidated by the situation. Out of the blue, Goblin raises her axe and prepares to cut the rope holding the hunter. The young man is shocked to see the blade, and Nog also doesn't understand his friend's action. Without a second thought, the pink-haired girl strikes the rope with all her strength. Because of this, the rope snaps and the adventurer begins to fall into the abyss while Nog stands frozen. The inventor screams his friend's name in despair as the prisoner plummets into the hole. Tears of terror well up in the young man's eyes as he sees his life flash before him. Furious, the white-haired boy turns to his partner to demand an explanation. He shouts, asking why she let go of the rope, and Goblin says he told her to do it. The girl defends herself, saying he even made a hand signal to give the command. Nog explains that he was just trying to scare the guy into cooperating with him. The inventor adds that they never even agreed on a signal, and Goblin realizes her mistake. She panics and starts screaming desperately, thinking they ended the young man's life. But Nog immediately corrects her and places all the blame for what happened on her. The two look down into the pit when a hand emerges from among the pointy stakes. Goblin says with the utmost calm that maybe her friend should go get him from down there. Nog is outraged by her suggestion, but the girl insists it's the right thing to do. With a look of someone who has accepted his fate, the inventor prepares for the hunter's rescue. Nog rappels down the chasm with a rope and yells for Goblin not to let go under any circumstances. From above, his friend reassures him, promising she won't let him fall into the trap. A small sphere of light suddenly appears at the bottom of the pit, catching the boy's attention. The light then reveals itself as a cute, ghostly creature emerging from the stakes. The young inventor is completely shocked and wonders what on earth that thing is. Terrified, he tries to kick the little ghost away, telling it to get out of there. But the creature simply passes through him as if he were nothing, leaving him in a panic. Following that, the spirit of light completely enters the young goblin's body, scaring him. The ghost merges with the boy, who feels the creature's energy inside of him. He yells to his friend that the thing got inside him, but she doesn't understand what happened. The inventor then manages to get out of the pit by himself, without bringing the adventurer's body. Goblin gets annoyed and asks what's gotten into him, since he didn't even get the prisoner. Nog, with blue flames on his head, explains that a strange spirit came out of the hunter. His eyes glow with a new energy, and he seems to have absorbed some kind of power. A holographic screen then appears before him with a welcome message. Shortly after, a notification informs him that he has unlocked the level 1 accelerate skill. The little ghost reappears and informs him about the new skill he has acquired. The creature then asks if the player accepts receiving this new and powerful ability. Nog asks his friend if she can see the ghost, but it seems only he can. The spirit explains with a smile that the boy is the only one capable of seeing it there. Goblin is totally confused by her friend's behavior and asks what he's talking about. She thinks he's being haunted and says it's what he deserves for what happened to the adventurer. Nog is outraged and questions why the spirit chose him and not his friend Goblin. He then turns his attention back to the holographic screen and wonders what that thing is. On the screen, 2 glowing buttons appear, one to accept and one to decline the new skill. The inventor tries to touch the screen, but his hand simply passes through the hologram with no effect. He asks if Goblin can't see it, and she questions if her friend hit his head in the pit. A strange noise from the middle of the forest suddenly startles the boy. Just then, a group of adventurers appears, saying they heard goblin screams nearby. With his eyes glowing with the new energy, the young goblin senses the approaching danger. Goblin panics and screams desperately, warning that more hunters have found them. Without wasting a moment, the white-haired boy grabs his friend so they can escape. With the spirit's energy flowing through his body, he yells for them to run for it. The leader of the adventurers orders his companions to get the 2 goblins. One of the hunters fires an energy attack that nearly hits the duo as they flee. Nog is completely shocked by the power of the attack and lets out a curse in his fright. The adventurers keep firing non-stop as they chase the 2 through the forest. Nog shouts for them to split up and throws one of his bombs to create a diversion. But one of the hunters doesn't fall for the trap and continues to pursue the inventor relentlessly. Nog runs while complaining that he bathes every day and about the screen that won't disappear. Nog gets irritated with the spirit and yells at it to shut up because he's about to be done for. But he notices the screen says accelerate and gets an idea of what it might be. With no other choice, he decides to press the accept button to see what happens. At that moment, a blue energy flows from the small ghost and enters the young goblin's body for good. A message confirms that he has successfully acquired the accelerate skill at level 1. Right behind him, the adventurer casts a powerful fire spell to finish off the goblin. A giant fireball flies towards him, and the boy is terrified by the attack. The spell explodes with full force, creating a large screen of smoke and destruction. The hunter misses his target and ends up hitting a tree, which begins to fall and block the path. With the path about to be closed off, Nog yells that he's not going down like this. He focuses on running faster as the burning tree continues to fall slowly. The inventor grits his teeth and puts all his strength into his legs to go faster. He remembers his goal of bringing peace and becoming a great hero like the legendary Grom. A blue aura then surrounds his body, and he starts running at incredible speed. Using his new ability, he accelerates with everything he's got to escape the falling tree. The adventurer is shocked and wonders how a mere goblin managed to use a skill. Not accepting defeat, the hunter prepares to use an even more powerful spell. He fires several fireballs, but Nog dodges them all with his new super speed. The blue energy continues to flow through his body, making him faster and more agile. With a sharp movement, he stomps hard on the ground and manages to stop his insane sprint. Surrounded by an aura of blue energy, Nog suddenly stops running in the middle of the forest. He is shocked by his own speed and wonders if he just teleported. But the little spirit appears, and the inventor accuses it of being responsible for this. The creature confirms with a smile and explains that he activated the accelerate skill. The white-haired boy repeats the skill's name, still trying to understand what happened. In the distance, the adventurer is still chasing him, and Nog panics upon seeing him approach. He flees and says the ghost has a lot of explaining to do, but the creature denies being a ghost. With a smirk, Nog says that either way, there's going to be another interrogation. Tired of the chase, he runs through the forest to get back to his village safely. He finally reaches the gates of his village, but the scene he finds is terrible. The village is in chaos, with injured goblins being carried by their tribe mates. Everywhere, goblins are crying for their friends who didn't survive the big attack. Seeing all this destruction, Nog gets a serious and worried look on his face. A large goblin named Zolith finds him and asks if he's seen Goblin around. The big guy is surprised and relieved to see that the young inventor managed to survive. Nog says he hasn't found her yet, and the little spirit continues to float by his side. A bad feeling suddenly comes over the boy and a look of pure panic crosses his face. He starts running desperately through the village, searching for his friend amidst the total chaos. The inventor shouts Goblin's name everywhere but can't find her anywhere. Among so many goblins, he wonders how on earth he's going to find his friend. The spirit of light then starts spinning around Nog, startling him. The creature says he can use the analyze skill, and the goblin complains about being startled and having his mind read. The spirit confirms with a smile that it can hear all of the young inventor's thoughts. Nog accuses it of haunting him, but the creature says it's there to help him as a player. The white-haired boy thinks about the idea of using a skill to find her. With no other choice, he decides to agree with the spirit's plan and do it its way. He then activates the skill, and a blue aura surrounds his body as he concentrates. His eyes glow intensely with the skill's energy, which spreads throughout the entire village. With his new vision, he can see the aura of every goblin in the chaotic crowd. He finally spots her, as Gubble's aura shines in a different color from the others. With a smile on his face, he runs towards his friend to see if she's okay. Gubble hears her name and turns around, confused, not understanding what is happening. Tears of relief and happiness stream down her face when she sees her friend is alive. The two friends run towards each other to finally reunite in the midst of the chaos. She jumps into his arms and hugs him tightly, afraid the adventures had gotten him. Gubble says, crying, that they will never get separated like that again. The young inventor is a little embarrassed by the hug but also very happy and relieved. He returns the hug and a sincere smile appears on his face upon seeing she is safe. The little spirit of light watches the scene with a satisfied smile at their reunion. Later that night, the two return to the inventor's house to get some rest. Nog threatens the little spirit, demanding it tell him everything it knows about what's happening. Gubble is completely confused by the scene and asks what on earth he's doing. The inventor explains that the adventurer's ghost is haunting him and helped him survive. His friend doesn't believe a word and thinks he's hallucinating from mushroom dust. The spirit says it can answer all his questions about the system he received. Nog tries to stab the creature with his dagger, but the blade simply passes through it with no effect. He starts to explore the system interface and is fascinated by the new information. The white-haired boy finally understands that the screen and the spirit are the system. He asks if he is a system user and if the creature's name is Pip, and it confirms. The inventor is impressed that Pip answered all his questions without any problem. Next, his status screen appears, showing his level and all his attributes. He discovers that he can gain experience to level up and improve his skills. Another screen shows the skills he currently has analyze and accelerate, both at level 1. The white-haired boy thinks it all seems too good to be true and is suspicious. But he is shocked to see he only has 2 points in strength, while his friend has 12. With a serious look, Gubble notices the power difference between the two goblin friends. Nog asks if he inherited the adventurer's stats, but Pip says the system was reset. With that, the inventor accepts that he is indeed very weak compared to others. Many questions arise in his mind about the origin and purpose of that system. He wonders if all humans have this power, if that's why they are so strong. Nog still remembers asking the adventurer why they dislike goblins so much. He also remembers the chaos and pain the hunters caused his people in the village. Startled, the white-haired boy snaps back to reality and realizes he needs to act quickly. With a determined look, he knows he needs more answers about everything that happened. He stands up and says the system could change everything, and Gubble doesn't understand his attitude. The inventor declares that he will find out why adventurers take them out without mercy. He also wants to understand what the system is and how he can use it to change the future. With a clenched fist, he turns to his friend, seemingly having made a big decision. The white-haired boy says he has a crazy idea to get what he wants so badly. He then reveals his bold plan for them to become adventurers to infiltrate their ranks. In a cave filled with treasure, the two prepare for their new and dangerous journey. Nog puts on an adventurer's armor and a bone mask to hide his face. He adjusts the mask with a click, looking ready to begin the infiltration mission. Gubble asks if he's sure, and the boy says that with masks, no one will recognize them. She comments that goblins really do like to hoard things, like the equipment they found. Nog says this is the best disguise they have and recalls a previous attempt. In a flashback, Gubble complains that the mage armor is silly and too heavy for her. The inventor yells at her to be quiet and pull herself up to get moving. Back in the present, she says they need weapons to be good fighters. The girl shows off her new giant gauntlets and says she really likes them for combat. Nog is shocked and asks if she's gonna fight using only the gauntlets she found there. He wonders what weapon he should use and thinks about using the skill Pip told him about. He then activates the Analyze skill, and his eyes glow with the system's blue energy. With his new vision, he can see the stats of all the weapons scattered among the treasure, but a warning appears, stating that he doesn't have enough strength to use most of them. The white-haired boy is shocked to realize just how weak he really is at the moment. He sighs in disappointment as he can only use the dagger as his main weapon for now. The basic F-grade dagger glows amidst the gold, seeming to be his only viable option. With no choice, the inventor picks up the small weapon and holds it firmly in his hands. He imagines himself as a great warrior with a giant sword and starts to cry in sadness. Pip explains that he needs to level up to use bigger weapons and calls him a weakling. The creature also says he can store the dagger in his inventory, leaving him confused. The spirit explains that he just needs to touch the item and think of the command to store it in the system. Nog tests the new function, and with a flash of light, the dagger disappears from his hand. He is shocked to see the weapon vanish, and Pip confirms that it's now in his inventory. The creature says that to access the inventory, he just needs to think of the command, and a screen will appear. The inventor gets super excited and says the system is very useful and will help him a lot. Gubble sees her friend freaking out by himself and wonders what's gotten into him this time. The pink-haired girl is completely confused by her partner's strange behavior. Abruptly, the inventor starts moving his hands in a weird way, and she doesn't understand at all. He tries to explain the system to his friend, but she still thinks he's crazy. Gubble gets annoyed and says he doesn't have to lie if he doesn't want to tell her what's going on. The two then hear a strange voice coming from the forest and go on high alert. Nog recognizes an adventurer's voice and runs to see, but his friend questions him. With a confident smile, he says that now they are adventurers too and should act like it. The two then hide in a nearby bush to observe the situation from a distance. They peek through the leaves and see a group of hunters fighting against several monsters. The adventurers are surrounded by an army of blue slimes that won't stop attacking. One of the hunters wonders why so many slimes suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Nog and Gobble watch the battle attentively, seeming to analyze the situation. The inventor activates his analyze skill to figure out what's happening with the slimes. He sees that one of the adventurers is crushing fruits, and this is attracting the monsters. The crushed fruits are honeyberries, which the slimes in that forest absolutely love. Nog realizes the hunters were trying to collect the fruits the wrong way, which is why they got surrounded. The small slimes attack the adventurer's shield with all their might to protect their favorite fruits. The big guy tries to defend himself, but the number of monsters is too great for him. One of the slimes hits the shield with a powerful attack, leaving the hunter in trouble. The green-haired huntress and the brown-haired young man exchange worried glances. The group's tank, named Edward, panics and decides to flee, abandoning his friends. One of the adventurers becomes desperate and says they can't escape with so many slimes. Nog is outraged to see the adventurer abandon his friends in such a cowardly way. He remembers when he had to leave his own companions behind to survive. With a heavy heart, he grips his dagger tightly and makes an important decision. Gobble notices the change in her friend and calls his name, a little worried about him. She takes off the inventor's mask and tells them to get out of there as quickly as possible. One of the slimes lands a powerful blow on one of the adventurers who is fighting bravely. From the impact, the girl named Arius spits up some blood and is badly injured in the fight. Her healer friend screams her name in desperation upon seeing her fall to the ground powerless. The healer tries to get closer to heal her, but the slimes don't give her an opening. The swarm of monsters surrounds the two adventurers, leaving them with no chance of escape. A mysterious shadow then appears and swiftly slices several slimes in half. The brown-haired girl is shocked to see the surprise attack that cleared a path. Nog and Gobble then appear and tell them not to worry, because they are there to help. With the help of the Goblin duo, the situation seems a bit more under control. The inventor comments that there are a lot of slimes, and his friend agrees with his observation. One of the slimes regenerates quickly even after being cut in half during the battle. The monster's goo reforms, and it returns to its original shape as if nothing happened. Nog explains that to defeat them, they need to crush their cores, which Gobble finds disgusting. More and more slimes then begin jumping from the trees, making the fight even more complicated. The boy says that as long as they are near the fruits, the slimes will keep on coming. Gobble complains that the adventurer broke her ribs, but is holding her knee in pain. The healer says the injury is serious, but she can heal it with her abilities. She thanks the duo for their help and says she didn't expect to find two gnomes around here. Nog and Gobble look at each other, confused, as the adventurer has mistaken them for another race. One of the slimes lets out a mocking laugh at the hunter's confusion. The inventor plays along and says they are gnome adventurers and will hold off the slimes. The Goblin duo then moves to the front line to fight against the monsters. Nog slices one of the slimes with his dagger, but the creature regenerates quickly as before. He wonders if he missed the core again and gets frustrated with the difficulty of the fight. An idea strikes him, and one of the slimes starts to glow in front of him. The white-haired boy activates his analyze skill to try a new strategy. With the help of the system, his eyes glow, and he can see the monster's weak spot. A target appears right on the slime's core, showing exactly where he needs to strike. With a precise blow, he hits the weak spot and destroys the monster once and for all. A notification confirms the slime has been defeated, and Nog celebrates the plan's success. He receives 5 experience points for the victory, and is confused by the reward. Pip explains that the system rewards experience points depending on the monster. The creature says that with enough experience, he can level up and get stronger. But while he is distracted, several slimes attack him all at once without mercy. Pip suggests they talk more about it after the battle is completely over. Gobble clenches her fist tightly and prepares to show her true strength in battle. With a powerful punch, she destroys several slimes at once with no difficulty. Nog realizes she doesn't even need to aim for the core, because she can just blast them with brute force. He is impressed by his friend's strength and realizes Pip wasn't kidding about it. The inventor admits that Gobble's strength is no joke and feels a little intimidated. A notification then appears showing he has lost 30 hit points from the attacks. He asks Pip what happens if his HP reaches 0, and the creature answers. The spirit says that obviously he'll be done for, and the goblin is shocked by the revelation. The healer gets anxious watching Nog talk to himself while trying to heal her injured friend. Gobble smashes a slime with her gauntlets, showing she's not messing around. Nog continues to fight and gain experience, but the number of monsters is overwhelming. One of the slimes hits him squarely on the head, leaving him a bit dazed from the blow. The creature mocks him by sticking its tongue out, which makes him very angry. The inventor stumbles and almost falls, but manages to stay on his feet to keep fighting. Completely surrounded, the Goblin duo realizes the situation is not looking good. The brown-haired girl complains about how long the healer is taking, as they are about to be finished. The injured adventurer asks to be left behind so the others can save themselves. But the healer refuses to give up and says she will heal her so they can leave together. Nog and Gobble continue to fight bravely but are exhausted and running out of options. The inventor wonders how he can get them out of this dangerous situation and save everyone. The slime army continues to advance relentlessly, making the situation increasingly tense. Tired and out of options, Nog considers using his accelerate skill again to escape. A mysterious adventurer suddenly appears and says their performance wasn't half bad. With a single fairy slash, he destroys all the slimes that were attacking the group. Nog's mask gleams with the reflection of the fire as he watches the powerful attack. Pip is also impressed by the strength of the newcomer who just saved everyone. Gobble prepares to fight but soon realizes the threat has already been completely eliminated. The brown-haired adventurer wonders if the newcomer is really there to help. Several notifications of defeated slimes pop up on the young inventor's system screen. Nog is shocked and wonders who is capable of eliminating all the monsters in an instant. The mysterious young man says with a smile that a little bird told him they needed help. The healer recognizes him and with tears in her eyes shouts his name, which is Tyros. With his fire sword in hand, he introduces himself as the savior of the group of adventurers. Tyros smiles as he's glad he made it in time to prevent a tragedy. He thanks the pair of gnomes for saving his friends and says he owes them a favor. The cowardly tank apologizes, saying he regretted it as soon as he ran and went to get Tyros. The healer scolds him, saying they would all be goners if it weren't for the gnomes. She is furious with his actions and calls him the worst tank she's ever known. Tyros approaches Nog and extends his hand to formally introduce himself as a friend. The inventor is shocked that a human is offering him a handshake. Nog is speechless but his friend Gobble steps forward and introduces herself excitedly. She shakes Tyros' hand and asks if they will get a reward for the favor. The inventor scolds her for her lack of manners, but the adventurer doesn't seem to mind. Tyros likes her energy and says he can reward them if they go to the guild. The goblin duo gets excited about the chance to visit a human village for the first time. Nog accepts the invitation immediately, and the group of adventurers heads towards the town of Merlos. On the way, Aria complains that she's hungry, and Tyros says they're almost there. The inventor is curious about Tyros' sword, which defeated so many slimes at once. He activates his analyze skill to see the weapon's stats, but the analysis fails. Pip explains that his perception level is too low to see the sword's details. Nog complains that the system is confusing, and Pip says he can level up skills by using them. The boy realizes that Tyros must be very strong if he can't even see his stats. He wonders if he will ever be able to reach the same level of power as the adventurer. Finally, the group arrives at their destination, the large and bustling village of Merlos. Nog and Gobble are impressed by the size and advanced architecture of the human city. Gobble is enchanted by the fashionable clothes and the charming vendors in the shops. The healer gets angry with the cowardly tank and pulls him by the ear to give him a scolding. Tyros laughs at the situation and says the two have every right to be mad at him. He thanks the gnomes again for their help and says goodbye to take care of his own business. The group splits up and the goblin duo is free to explore the city on their own. Nog is amazed by the skilled blacksmiths forging incredible weapons in the city. But Gobble can only think about the delicious food the vendors are offering on the streets. Tyros says they are very lively and promises there is plenty of good food at the guild. The pink-haired girl tries to break free from her friend's grasp to go after the food. The inventor scolds her, asking her not to embarrass them in front of their new friends. The goblin duo is fascinated by an old clock in a shop window. Nog realizes in that moment just how different human civilization is from his own village. The healer notices his interest in the clock and asks if he likes the object. She offers to buy the clock as a gift, but the goblin doesn't know what it is. The adventurer is shocked and remembers that gnomes were the inventors of clocks. She thinks it would be a silly idea to give a clock as a gift to a supposed gnome. Nog panics and lies, saying they have many clocks at home to cover it up. The group continues walking, and the healer says she will think of another gift for them. The goblin duo thanks her for her kindness and is happy with the adventurer's attitude. The inventor thinks that maybe the hunters aren't as bad as he imagined. A terrifying roar suddenly echoes down the street, and a huge monster appears before them. The blue furry creature is trapped in a cage and scares everyone with its rage. A shirtless man tries to calm the beast by punching in the head with little success. Nog asks why those monsters are caged and Tyros explains the reason. He says that some rare beasts have a higher reward if they are captured alive. They are sent to the infinite prison to be tamed before being sold. Nog becomes thoughtful with this information, but Tyros says that's just what he's heard. Gobble calls him to keep moving, and they follow the group of adventurers through the city. With a smile on his face, the inventor seems to be enjoying the experience in the human village. At last, the group reaches their destination, and Tyros announces that they are at the guild. He says with a smile that this is their home sweet home and invites them in. The goblin duo is impressed by the grandeur of the Red Crow's guild. The building is enormous and imposing, with an architecture they have never seen before. As the group enters the guild, they find the place filled with adventurers of all types and races. A man with a scar over his eye greets Tyros, says he was afraid he would be late. The red-haired young man apologizes and introduces his two new friends to the master. He explains that Nog and Gobble saved his friends from a swarm of slimes in the forest. The guild master Sepher stares at him with a serious look and questions the story. Tyros formally introduces him to the goblin duo, who greet him respectfully. The adventurer remembers the promise of a reward, and the master agrees to help them. Nog notices a crowd gathered in a corner and asks what all the commotion is about. Sefer explains that today is the exam day for new adventurers who want to join. He says that an adventurer's rank is determined by their performance on the test. Tyros comments that the guild recruits many new members through this annual exam. The two adventurers who were saved say they didn't do well on the test, which is why their rank is low. Nog realizes this is the perfect opportunity to become an official adventurer. While the master goes to get the gold, Nog asks for a different reward for the favor. Tyros and Sefer stare at him with serious and curious looks, wanting to know what he wants. The Goblin duo hugs each other excitedly as the inventor reveals his wish. He asks if the two of them can participate in the adventure exam that is happening. Tyros is shocked by the unexpected request but seems to consider the possibility. The guild master questions their wish but seems willing to hear the proposal. The young adventurer whispers an idea in Sefer's ear, who seems to like what he hears. The leader says that as a reward they will have a special exam much faster and more practical. The Goblin duo gets excited about the chance to skip all the bureaucracy of the normal test. The master explains that the test is to survive for 1 minute against the guild's strongest member. He says that if one of them can last for 1 minute in the duel, they can join the guild. With a confident smile, Nog accepts the challenge, and Goblin seems a little nervous. A new quest appears on the system screen with the details of the 1-minute challenge. The inventor is curious about the rewards and wonders what happens if he levels up. With that in mind, he accepts the challenge, hoping to get stronger in the process. The Goblin duo celebrates the chance to become real adventurers in the guild. With a serious look, Tyros prepares for combat, and the tension in the air rises. In the center of the guild, the two position themselves for the duel while the others watch. Goblin cracks her knuckles and says she just needs to stay on her feet for 1 minute to win. The guild master announces the start of the 1-minute challenge between Tyros and Goblin. With a wave of his hand, he signals for the battle to begin, and the crowd watches intently. Goblin charges straight at Tyros, using all her strength and speed. The adventurer is shocked by the explosive speed of the small, supposed gnome. The other adventurers are also impressed, saying they've never seen a gnome like that. Pip observes the fight, and Nog wonders if Goblin has gotten stronger somehow. He remembers when he analyzed her strength and realizes the numbers don't add up. The pink-haired girl jumps and tries to land a powerful punch on Tyros with her gauntlet. But the adventurer dodges with ease and hits her with a blow that sends her flying. The impact of the blow creates a large crater in the floor and kicks up a cloud of dust. The spectators are shocked by the force of the punch and wonder what she eats. Tyros carries the small, unconscious girl in his arms and gently lays her on the ground. With a smile, he praises her strength and says she really knows how to throw a good punch. Nog runs to help his friend, but the adventurer reassures him, saying she's fine. With Goblin out of the fight, it's now the inventor's turn to face the guild's strongest member. The master announces the next duel between Nog and Tyros, and the atmosphere becomes even more tense. The inventor prepares for the fight, and Pip encourages him to do his best. He realizes it only took Tyros 10 seconds to knock out his super strong friend. The healer takes care of Goblin while the white-haired boy focuses on the challenge. With a determined look, Nog activates his accelerate skill to try to win the duel. The guild master gives the signal, and the duel between Nog and Tyros finally begins for real. Using his super speed, the inventor charges at the adventurer with his dagger in hand. He tries a direct attack, but Tyros blocks it easily with just one hand. The red-haired young man manages to stop the blade just in time to avoid getting hit in the face. Nog backs away and continues to run at high speed around his opponent in the arena. With a confident smile, he prepares to attack again with even more speed. The spectators are impressed by the speed and aggressiveness of the small gnome. One of them notices that Nog isn't just trying to survive, but to actually defeat Tyros. With a powerful attack, he tries to hit the adventurer but is blocked by the fire sword. The force of the impact throws him back, and he gets frustrated for not being able to land a hit. He wonders why he can't hit Tyros even with his incredible speed. With a swift kick, the adventurer hits him squarely, showing his superiority in combat. The inventor wonders if Tyros has already adapted to his speed and becomes worried. The red-haired young man then grabs him by the collar and lifts him into the air with ease. Tyros holds him tightly and stares at him with a serious and challenging look in the middle of the duel. He asks what other tricks Nog has up his sleeve and attacks him with a powerful punch. The inventor is thrown far away and is left with no options, wondering what else he can do to win. He questions if this is his limit, but a system notification appears before him. The message congratulates him for using the accelerate's skill enough to level it up. A new wave of blue power surrounds his body, and he seems to have gotten even stronger. With the enhanced skill, the inventor feels more confident to continue the duel. Tyros notices the change and understands this is their best chance to win. The notification informs him that the skill now increases his speed by 200%. Goblin, who is already back on her feet, worries about the strange aura around her friend. Nog says that if he's reached his limit, then he'll just have to break through that barrier. He activates his new skill and a blast of blue energy completely envelopes him. Tyros realizes the little gnome has an ace up his sleeve and prepares for the attack. With his new speed, the inventor steps with so much force that the ground begins to crack. The adventurer is shocked and wonders how he managed to get even faster. Nog charges forward with incredible speed, and Tyros can barely keep up with his movements. With a confident smile, the white-haired boy attacks with all his new strength. He spins at high speed and delivers several blows with his dagger from all sides. Tyros wonders if the gnome was holding back the entire time and is impressed. The level 2 accelerate skill proves to be much more powerful than the previous version. Even with the enhanced speed, the adventurer manages to block all the attacks. Nog creates several clones of himself and attacks Tyros from all directions at once. The red-haired young man defends himself masterfully, showcasing his great skill. The inventor gets frustrated for not being able to break through his opponent's defense. His health and mana bars appear, showing that he is running out of energy. Pip warns him that he only has enough mana to use the skill one more time. Nog says he's faster than before and prepares for his final attack. He charges forward with everything he has, but Tyros also moves at high speed to counterattack. The inventor wonders just how strong his opponent is to be able to keep up with his pace. With a confident smile, the adventurer unleashes the full power of his fire sword. He praises the gnome's skill and prepares to take the fight a little more seriously. Tyros advances with a fiery aura and the duel becomes even more intense and dangerous. The red-haired young man leaps to attack from above with all his strength and power. With a focused gaze, the inventor prepares to receive the blow and try to counter. The adventurer strikes him with a powerful blow that throws him back with the force of the impact. Nog is sent flying and is severely injured by his opponent's devastating attack. Goblin screams her friend's name in despair upon seeing him fall to the ground, powerless. Tyros compliments him on a good fight and prepares to end the duel once and for all. But the adventurer is surprised to see that the little gnome is still standing. Even injured and exhausted, Nog refuses to give up and says he can still go on. He gets up with difficulty, showing that he won't surrender so easily in the fight. Goblin begs him to stop so he doesn't get hurt anymore, but he doesn't listen to her. Tyros is impressed by his determination and asks if he is still conscious. The guildmaster suddenly grabs the adventurer's arm and stops the combat. He says the fight is over and shows a timer that reads 1 minute and 10 seconds. With that, he announces that Nog has passed the test and has successfully become an adventurer. Tyros is impressed by the gnome's determination and congratulates him on his victory. Goblin rushes to help her friend, and Nog explains that Tyros used the flat side of the blade. The adventurer extends his hand again and congratulates the inventor on his performance in the duel. He praises Nog's fighting and says he has the potential to become a great adventurer. The white-haired boy is happy with the compliment and feels proud of his achievement. With a smile, Tyros welcomes the duo to the Red Crow's Guild. A system notification appears, informing Nog that he has leveled up with the victory. He has also completed the quest and earned 100 experience points as a reward. Tyros hands him their adventurer cards, and Goblin complains that hers is gray, not green. The adventurer realizes they know nothing about the guild's ranking system. He explains that the card's color represents an adventurer's rank and their power level. Nog's green card is F rank, while Goblin's gray one is the lowest of all. Tyros shows the rank chart, which goes from S to F, with U being the very lowest. He says they can rank up by completing quests and earning experience points. Goblin gets depressed upon discovering she's more useless than her friend, and her soul leaves her body. Tyros suggests they start doing some quests so they can rank up. Nog looks at the quest board and notices that they are also categorized by rank. He is shocked to see a quest to hunt goblins and collect 30 ears as proof. The inventor gets the idea to find the person who posted the quest to find out the reason. Goblin draws his attention to a quest with a huge gold reward and gets excited. The quest is S rank and offers 1 billion coins for the head of the great goblin hero, Grom. With a smile on his face, Nog decides to start with something easier and sets the quest aside. Tyros offers to accompany them on their first quest to help them get off to a good start. The healer then appears and calls the duo over to talk about something important. She says she observed them closely during the duo and noticed something strange. With a serious look, she accuses them of not being real gnomes, and the duo panics. The two are speechless, but the adventurer seems to have misunderstood her own words. Nog asks what she meant by that, and the healer explains her suspicion. She says that gnomes are always well prepared, but they don't even have any potions with them. The other adventurer scolds her friend for her rudeness and tries to calm the situation. The duo takes offense at the insult and says they are not noobs, but then they realize the mistake. The healer laughs and explains that noobs are new adventurers and offers them a basket. The basket is filled with colorful potions, and the two goblins are amazed by the gift. She says it's a thank you for their help earlier, and they take the potions. Nog uses his analyze skill to see what's inside those mysterious bottles. The basic potion glows in his hands as he prepares to uncover its secrets. He learns the potion's recipe and discovers that it restores 20 of the user's hit points. A notification shows the details of the potion's effect, which restores 5 HP per second. The inventor is impressed by the potion's power but is shocked by the ingredients. The other adventurer then appears with several leather pouches as a gift for them. The leather pouch can carry up to 30 kilograms of items, which is very useful. The duo is overjoyed with the gifts and says the pouches are very comfortable. Tyros informs them that the healer is an alchemist and made the potions herself with care. Nog and Goblin thank them very much for the gifts, and the adventurer gets a little embarrassed. The inventor is thoughtful about the new recipe he learned and gets a brilliant idea. He wonders if he can use the system to create his own magic potions. The white-haired boy decides to ask Pip about it when they are alone. Tyros invites the two adventurers to join them on the duo's first quest. The healer is worried because her friend is still recovering from her injuries. But the brown-haired girl says she is completely fine and ready for action. She wants to show Nog and Gubble what she's really made of and breaks a rock. With the group formed, they just need to choose a quest to start their adventure. They gather in front of the quest board to decide on their first job. Nog chooses a quest to hunt wolves that are attacking local farmers' livestock. Tyros asks why he chose that quest, and the inventor gets a little nervous. He plays it off, saying it seems like an easy quest to start with, but he has other plans. The healer is suspicious of his excuse but decides not to question it for now. With the quest chosen, the group of 5 adventurers sets off into the forest to hunt. On the way, Nog remembers he leveled up and Pip explains how the system works. With each level, he gains 3 attribute points to distribute as he wishes among his stats. Nog thinks he needs to distribute his points wisely since he can't take them back. He remembers that attributes are necessary to use different types of equipment. The points also serve to enhance certain skills and make them stronger. The inventor realizes that higher stats can influence his way of thinking and acting. He also notes that the amount of experience needed to level up will increase. The white-haired boy feels pressured, but Pip says there's another way to grow. The creature explains that some stats can be improved naturally through great effort. By training hard, he can increase his attributes without using his level-up points. But Pip warns that it is much more work, and the higher the stat, the harder it gets. The spirit mocks the goblin's low strength and says he could improve it quickly. With a serious look, Nog complains that the little creature is getting too cheeky. He thinks of a new strategy and decides to save his points for now. The group then encounters a giant, muscular adventurer returning from a hunt. He carries a massive sword and appears to be a very strong and experienced warrior. Tyros greets him and says he's back from his mission earlier than usual. Nog is shocked and a little scared by the imposing presence of the new adventurer. With a confident smile, the big man approaches the group, looking very pleased. He wears a necklace made of goblin teeth, which terrifies the inventor. With a chilling smile, the man says he is the best goblin hunter in the guild. His expression and his words leave Nog completely in shock and filled with fear.